Okay, so this is going to be commentary for this 8th chapter from my book Meta-Dimensional. Chapter is called Meta-Temporal Evolution. The book is available on Kindle as an ebook and available for free as an audiobook on Google Play, and the links are in the description. Okay, so what is this Meta-Temporal Evolution? Well, I don't want to be over dramatic, so I won't. This is basically my solution to what we see in physics, or the theory's solution to what we see in physics, what we see in quantum field theory, the observer effect. And I'm not going to extrapolate all the ways that it solves quantum field theory, but it basically is. I think it solves once you begin. You take one step, and then you end up explaining, having a solution for every hard problems we have in physics or in science or whatever. It's just what it is. So the idea is this: like, we think we have the problem of the observer effect, where the fact you observe a measurement changes physical reality. Specifically, like for example, in the double slit experiment, if you make a measurement, then you get a particle pattern, like a billiard ball pattern of a trajectory of a particle. If you don't observe the measurement, then you get interference patterns like a wave, and therefore your observation changes reality, and and you need to explain that, and you also have like this problem, like that what if two people, one measures like observes the measurement, one doesn't, and what if you can say that if you making the measurement or having like a particle pattern will trigger some kind of a contraption that will, let's say, in Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, it would kill a cat. But let's go bigger. Let's say it fires an atomic bomb. If you read the measurement, if you don't, it doesn't. And then someone else right next beside you can choose whether to read the measurement or not. And depending on that, they too should have this equal say, right, to determine whether the atomic bomb would explode and, let's say, millions of people would die. So what's going on here? What's the explanation for this? Now the theory says that all this reality, physical reality, is not. It is. It's experiential. This wakeful world, the world that we perceive, it exists in experience, but it's not actually the. It's not the actual objective substrate that produces this appearance, this perception of the wakeful world. Perception of the wakeful world is like a perception of a dream. It's a perception. It exists only in experience. It doesn't exist in any other form, and like there's nothing that unites all the elements together on the other side, if you don't perceive them. All the elements that makes the wakeful world as it is. These elements are orthogonal, independent, not connected to your experience at all, and are indifferent to each other and to you. So there is no world that unites all of them together into one integrated reality. So there's simply nothing there. I mean, not because of like something, some great knowledge, simply because I'm assuming that I reject solipsism, meaning I expect there to be elements that are not me out there, that are not related at all to my experience, and are not projected within my experience, and like not just projections of my experience. So, so now, if this is reality, then what happens when I make a measurement or not? It changes what is the concoction of those elements that are not me that I observe, and that therefore it can create a different reality. Every time I make a choice, it can create a different reality. That's all fine. I mean, there's no problem there. And the real question is, how come our realities ever merge? And that's a different question. But you see that if you think that assume that that this wakeful world is just something in experience, it's just something that you perceive, it doesn't exist on its own, then uh, it no longer becomes a problem why your observation changes it, because you observe when you observe something else, then you see a different reality. That's why the question is why do all these realities uh, merge? But you don't have to explain the difference, like how come it's possible, because there is no you're not, my perception doesn't contradict your perception. It, and it, like the fact that I perceive something doesn't contradict the fact that someone else perceives something, because we're not perceiving the same thing. We're perceiving a different reality. And every time we make a change, we make a decision, we just exist. We're progressing from world to world, and yeah, that's just a passage of time. And the real problem becomes like, what makes our world the same, or what integrates it? That's going to be in a different chapter. But so we understand the observer effect. We also understand why there's so much, let's say, randomness. Randomness is just an expression of, in physics, physical randomness. Randomness is just an expression of there being an ability for us to choose. If there wasn't an ability for us to choose, if there were no degrees of freedom, then we couldn't have made choices. We'd have to do just one thing. So that's the potential. The randomness just shows the potential from which we can choose. It's more complex, but that's the idea. Like, if you want, you can think of so this process of changing, like the thing that we perceive, is called meta-temporal evolution. It seems as if we're observing a different, like every time we make a choice, it seems as if we're observing a different universe. It's like we're jumping in between timelines, parallel timelines. But there is no timeline, because there is no world that we perceive. It's just, there's no world out there that is like integrated, that we think that correlates with what we believe we see. It simply doesn't exist. The reason objective substrate is just not that world that we perceive. It's not the wakeful world. Like if you want, let's say you're playing a video game, and so when you make a choice, let's say to move to the left or move to the right to fire, it's not like the game figure inside the game makes a choice. That figure doesn't have any agency. It's just a projection. It's just of the computer. Computer generates it, and that's it. It's not the computer doesn't have any freedom to decide where to put that. It has to obey the programming, how to render the images on screen. It's only when you make a change to the computer by moving the mouse or the stick or the whatever you want, like whatever you like using by playing the keyboard. That's when you change the computer. That's when things change. So you don't change the reality you perceive. You don't change the world that you see on the pixels you see. You change the computer behind it. You change its state, but your changes are just changed in bits and stuff like that. They're not changes in the game world. Eventually, these changes become changes in the game world that move you to the left, right, to fire, or whatever. But it's not. The change you make is in the substrate. It's not in the world that you perceive. It's in the substrate that produces that world. You change the computer. You don't change the game world. You change the computer. The same way, when we make a measurement, we change the thing that produces our perception. We don't change the world, because the world never existed. That world, it exists only as an impression in our minds, in our experience, in our perception. That's if you don't understand why this is a big deal, well, I guess you don't understand the problem. And you can check the problem elsewhere. Like, I'm not gonna do our physics class here.